Hi. Hi. Oh, look at you all. You all greeting me? Look at you all greeting me. Hi. Hi, everybody, and welcome to episode 199 of the IROCKNITTERS podcast. My name is Corey Eichelberger, and I am in Brandon, South Dakota. South Dakota, my home state. I grew up in Sioux Falls, which is about 10 miles down the road, and I was headed home for Easter, and I got in touch with Elizabeth, and we are in the Maker's Way fiber mill. And I met them at Shepherd's Harvest 2 or 3 years ago, I think. And their sign just said Brandon, South Dakota. And I was like, I didn't know there was a mill in South Dakota. I come through Brandon all the time. So I had mentioned to them at the time that I wanted to have them on the podcast. And I don't get home as often as I would like. It's about a 4-hour drive from where I live. But I decided this weekend I would contact her and see if I could stop here on Friday afternoon. So welcome.
Yeah,
I'm glad you're here.
I am glad that you were able to stop in. We're so excited.
Yeah. So they live here. They have a mill building here adjacent to a farm property, and I was greeted by goats who I immediately took video of as I came in. So I will have had that at the beginning of this because they were all greeting me. It was really fun. But it is kind of a rainy, cold, blustery. It's not terrible. Yeah. Well, it's a little chilly.
Yeah, it's April.
It's April. It's a little muddy, but they're getting ready to have babes here.
Yes. Yep.
So. They're all out in a little pasture here. But let's just talk about how the mill started. I know that you started with your mom and your sister.
Yep.
I do know some of the history of the mill, but we just want to find out a little bit more about it and what your products are and how long you've been doing this.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we started in October of 2021. With the pandemic, everyone couldn't be inside, so one of the activities we would do is go outside, obviously, and I was working with natural dyes at the time, wanted to find local stuff that I could use. So my sister-in-law is a naturalist in Iowa.
Okay.
And so she was like, well, stinging nettle is something you can use. And so we went out and harvested that, and then I was like, well, if I'm using local things, I want to use local fiber. And so I did a Google search, and I couldn't find anything, especially in the blends that I wanted. So with YouTube, figured out you can actually start a fiber mill and run a fiber mill. Chris up in North Dakota, hers was the YouTube channel I had found, and so I contacted her and was up there for a internship, 1-day internship, and after that I came back and was like, Mom, Aaron, we need to start a mill.
And this is up at
the
Nome Schoolhouse now that has the fiber in where I've taught, and I've done a tour on a previous episode. So it's a small world for fiber mills.
It's
very small.
Very
like
small
you would
world.
all know who.
Yes.
I mean, there aren't very many in the United States. I don't know if there's a number out there. I'll try to look and I can put it on the screen if I find it, but not very many.
No,
you know,
the number I've heard is around 200.
Oh,
okay. That may be outdated.
No, okay,
So,
yeah. But and they're all fairly small.
Yes. Yeah. They're all typically not much bigger than ours.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so you came home and said to mom and sister, and they were in, like.
Yeah, they were like, okay, like, well, so we made a business plan, and initially we were gonna buy equipment from Italy. Romella's out there, very nice equipment. It takes about 8 months to get it from them, and it's on the higher end, so it's very expensive. And so we had that all set up in plans. We had talked to them, and then on Facebook Marketplace, we found one half of our equipment came for sale, and then like 3 or 4 days later, the other half came for sale. So I'm like, okay, God, it's fine. Like,
wow.
So we loaded up a pickup with a flatbed and drove to Dallas. And picked up our spinner and our pin drafter and our skein winder. That was myself, Erin, my sister, her husband, and then our brother Troy and his wife. We left on Friday afternoon after work, got to Dallas, picked up the equipment on Sunday morning, and then drove back. Ended up driving through a thunderstorm. So we
of course.
I know. We got back to Inwood, which is where Erin lives. around like 3 a.m. We all had to be at work the next morning. That did not happen. So that was one trip. And then the carder and our picker came from Michigan.
Michigan, yeah.
So we drove out there the next weekend and picked that up. And
so two separate mills were selling their equipment, or were they downsizing, or just like closing, or like just had extra equipment?
So the carder came from a couple who were retiring. So they just did roving and felt. And then the spinner and pin drafter came from a gal who had the whole setup, but only really wanted to do the carding.
So then you went to Michigan and you brought back, and did you know that you were going to put it in this building?
Yes.
At the time?
Yep.
So this is her father's workshop, was his workshop, which
Yep.
is a huge workshop
for
what most people would think of, a small barn kind of space.
Yep.
And so you knew you had somewhere to put it.
Yep. That was the initial, my parents were okay with us moving into here. Initially, it wasn't going to be as long as it has been, but it's just, that's how it's panned out. So,
so you were thinking maybe you'd do it kind of more short term?
Yeah, at some point we will move. But for right now, this works. So,
okay.
Yep.
Okay. To a space that would be bigger, maybe, so you'd have more room to do.
Yes.
I think all mills are, I mean, I've been in a number of them all, and everybody's kind of fighting for space. And, and that kind of thing.
We are compact in here, and it's at some point will be time. Not yet, at some point.
Yeah. Okay. So, and now your sister's not helping as much anymore.
Yep.
So just your mom and you are kind of running the business part of it. Do you both do all aspects?
No. So I do most of the processing in here.
Okay.
And then my mom does a lot of the, like, we make dryer balls.
Yeah.
We're on Etsy, so we ship a fair amount. So she's in charge of all that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is that done out here, or does she do that
in the house?
Oh, in the house.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, and it's a beautiful log home. Beautiful, very pretty log home. When you decided to start this, are you a machine person? Like, are you you love machines, you love engineering, you love that kind of thing?
No.
Because like I can't abide a sewing machine.
Oh yes.
Like I love handcrafts, all the hand stuff. And I sewed a lot growing up, but mom was always there to like fix the machine part of it. Mm-hmm. So that's why I'm wondering.
Yes. So I can. That's what we'll say. So I grew up sewing, and so with other experiences in my life, I had to be able to fix those. And so like I'm not very good at it, but I can. So, but when we bought the mill, Aaron's husband is a diesel mechanic.
Okay.
And Dad is very handy. So between the two of them,
if something breaks down, they can fix it.
They can fix it. And I've gotten much better at it, so I can normally at least troubleshoot.
Because I would assume that there would have to be like daily or weekly maintenance.
Yes.
That you have to do, and you would have to be willing, I guess, to kind of be like, that's part of this, and I don't mind that part.
Nope. Greasing bearings, I can get all that done.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
okay. Yeah. So are you usually in this space by yourself on a daily basis?
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
And let's talk about like how you decided what product and where your product comes from.
Yeah.
Do you use some of the goat?
No.
I wouldn't think so.
Yep. So
I don't know a lot about farm animals, but they don't look
they're
like
not the Angora or the Pagora.
Right. No.
So the goats actually belong to my brother and sister-in-law.
Okay.
And so they have a prairie restoration business. And so they will use the goats in the summer to graze. Mow. Yes.
Well, yeah.
Yes.
Mow in the suburbs to graze in the farm. Yeah. Okay.
So they are they hang out with me most of the time. But for our own products, when we started, I wanted to be as local as we could be for the most part. So a lot of our alpaca.
You need to scooch you over a little bit. I just feel like now you're getting more and more off screen. Okay. So start over with for most of your projects.
Yes. So for most of our products, we try to be as local as we can. There are some restraints. Yeah. So we will occasionally use wool from the East Coast that's already been processed, and we just use the comb top. But our alpaca comes from a ranch West River by Rapid City.
Oh, okay.
So that we go out there
So people won't know that
Yes.
South Dakota is divided into the east of the river and the west of the river. And the river runs, I don't even know where it starts.
Pretty much in the middle.
I mean, but
Yeah.
like way up north.
Oh,
like
I think it starts in Montana.
You know, and then it comes through in Missouri.
Yep.
The Missouri River, which is very wide.
Yes.
Very wide at one point. I know Chamberlain, and that bridge is super long,
yes.
right? And there are dams along part of the river, but that's kind of people, once you cross the river, the land changes before you even cross the river, but yeah, it's very much prairie.
Yes.
And West River. But just so people understand what you're talking about. So you get fleece from what type of sheep?
That's the alpaca.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, alpaca.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said that.
That's good.
So, and do you get sheep fleece from?
So
South
we
Dakota?
have just started to get fleeces from the Belfouche Center of the Nation Wools out there. So we're very lucky. It's within driving distance for us. There are other mills that have to like get it shipped, and that's really expensive.
Yeah.
We can just drive out there. So we have a couple bales in the other half of the barn.
Okay, so how do we explain Belfouche? Town near the middle?
So it is probably like an hour, 2 hours north of Rapid City.
Okay.
So it's almost as far west as you can
All right. So you're starting to get fleece from them.
Yes. Yeah.
And that is wool, a certain type of sheep, or is it just merino?
Some of it's targi is what we've gotten recently.
Okay.
They typically work with like really big producers and then like the military and like the big people. Okay.
I'm just jumping in here because I found this so fascinating. The Center of the Nation Wool says that the U.S. produces about 25 million pounds of wool a year, and through their doors, they'll market between 4.5 and 5 million pounds. So they're handling roughly 20% of the wool produced in the U.S., and it's local to the region. That is a whole lot of wool. And the warehouse operates with 6 employees.
Okay.
So we're lucky because they will take off certain amounts for us and sell it to us. So all of the stuff we have in there is from 2 ranches, which I really like, knowing that it's a single origin.
Yeah.
Like, that's cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, we're lucky with that.
Yeah.
They also are the place to get the dark wool for us, which we use in like our insoles and then our coasters. If I don't have to dye something, I don't want to. So it's not as easy to find dark colored wool as it is to find white colored wool. Or white wool.
Interesting. Okay.
So yes.
So yeah, so we have some of those here since you're talking about them. Let's just grab them. So these are the insoles that they make, and you sell these on your Etsy in your Etsy store, called Maker's Way. And you have a machine that helps to make these?
Yes.
That presses like what she had up in Nome.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't have exactly the same setup as her, but yes.
But you're not hand processing this as much.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
So you're taking and making felted liners. And then I told my husband on the way, you know where I put these? In my car cup.
Yes.
And it's so awesome for in your car cup holder, not your car cup, your car cup holder, because if the water spills or your drink leaks a little or sweats in the summer, that all gets, and then you can just throw this in the wash.
Yes.
It's so perfect. He goes, well, I don't need those. He just got a new little car. And I'm like, yes, you do. You do not know what, like what the crook is like, when you're not, but these are, I mean, you can also just use them as a coaster.
We actually have specific ones for the car.
Yeah.
They're smaller.
Yeah.
But I like them because things in your car don't rattle. I'm like, that's my selling point. Like, they don't rattle. I will.
When you put, And I've had them in my car because I got them from her up in Nome, and she had a few, and we were kind of looking at them, and these are packaged really nicely. This would be a great little gift for a knitter for, that would appreciate the wool being made. They're very pretty. So someone dyeing this part of it? Yeah.
I am.
Dyeing the felt. Oh, yeah, of course, you're doing it all. So when I first talked to you, and I don't know if it was you or your sister, I said, well, are you all knitters? And you're like, not so much. Are you still not all really into the knitting?
So I knit and I crochet. Erin has gotten more into the knitting.
Okay.
Mom has gotten more into the crocheting.
Okay.
Yep.
Because when this would have been several years ago,
Yeah,
and you're
yep.
kind of like, no, that, and I'm like, how can you, like in my mind, very judgmental in the moment, I was like, how can you own a fiber mill and not be like ecstatic about knitting? But it really wasn't about that for you guys at the beginning. It wasn't about that piece of it. Of, you know, like, I'm going to own sheep someday and I'm going to make yarn so that I can knit, right? Like, I think that's most knitters, either that or I'm going to own a yarn store and it's not going to be any work, right? Like in our mind, it would just be a romantic yarn store of, you know, epic proportion that would be no work and no retail hours and no sassy customers, right?
Exactly. That's exactly what happens.
And you would just sit in it and drink tea and knit all day, right?
Exactly.
But you guys were going into it kind of as a business plan, right? In order to have something that you took from sheep to actual product, right? Yeah.
So my background is actually in sustainable fashion. So I went to the University of Minnesota and got my bachelor's in apparel design there.
Okay.
Then went to University of Delaware and got my master's. And so when I moved back, it was just one of those, like, I know I want something local. I know that there's a huge need for processing.
Yes. Oh, for sure.
I didn't necessarily know exactly what I was getting into, if we're being honest, but that's how
But you're not interested in doing the design piece of designing knitwear?
I am.
Okay.
And
not that you'd have time.
Yes, that.
Right now. I'm just saying that
100%.
that was not part of your school dream. It was really more about the sustainability part of it.
Yep.
Yeah. And did you have a plan when you were in college and going to graduate school that it was going to be something different with sustainability, or did you always plan? I was going to say, did you plan to come back here with a master's degree and be greasing products, right? Like, you probably don't need a master's degree for that. You know, like, I just think that people's journeys are fascinating because you know how they say you have 10 careers in different areas before you know, and so, but I do think that that's really interesting that it was really about the sustainability and you found a way to make it work here in South Dakota where there wouldn't have, it's just not, it's not as progressive and it's not a big city and they're, you know, I think most farmers would be in South Dakota would be like, we're darn sustainable, right? Like we're already there. Like we haven't processed through getting and needing to go back to that. Most farmers here are working on sustainable resources and doing their own farming, right? That's pretty, different than what we that live in the suburbs, you know, would want to buy sustainable clothing or do the slow fashion movements, those types of things that we're seeing more in those big industrial places, right? Yeah, for sure. So what brought you back here?
So I was in St. Louis and it was just at the time I needed a change. And so I moved back without a plan, which surprising. But I had worked in Sioux Center, Iowa for a fair trade handbag design company and their jewelry design company. So again, COVID happened and it was just like, I need another change. Yeah. And so it just,
good for you.
It just
and then
happened.
You went and found a mill and bought it. Like that is just so incredible to me, but good for you. Do you process people's wool for them and send it back to them so that they can do something with it? Yes. And what are they doing? Yep. Are they dyeing or making product or what are they?
Most people we will process for them and make yarn, and then a lot of them are just selling the yarn.
Okay.
A lot of the alpaca people around us, that's their whole thing. Yeah. So
so are you blending your alpaca with other things or are you just doing 100% for them?
We will do 100% for them. Anything for our own line, we typically blend with other things.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because I do think that alpaca, you have to be educated in the use of alpaca if you're going to be a knitter, right? Like I teach a lot of beginners and I don't know that all beginners could pick up alpaca and knit with it and come out with a product that they loved right away if they didn't understand the properties of it, right? It's just a different beast than all the wools. Yes. Right? You have more drape. It can be a little slipperier. It's got, you know, can have those guard hairs. Do you get rid of some of that for people or do they want it? the like the guard hair. Like some
Yes.
people will. What is that called?
We don't have a dehairer.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
But,
No. As I put it. Yep.
I'm really showing my knowledge here, but I do know that there is something.
Yes, there is. Yes. And yeah, we don't have one.
Okay.
It depends on the producer.
Right. Yes.
And also depends on the mill.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And is that a big machine? Is that like a big
No,
thing that
it's
you'd have?
probably one
I
of
don't
the
know.
smaller ones.
Okay, I don't know enough, but
nope.
I do know that there are places that do that.
Mhm.
And isn't there also a chemical process that you can do to yarn to take away some of the prickly?
Yes.
I don't know what that.
Yes.
But anyway,
That's more of a bigger industrial.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Not so much us.
if you're starting off your day, do you have all your machines running most of the days, or do you do like one part of it each day?
And most of the time, I like to have at least 3 of them running at once. It definitely, like, I start the wash, and then we gotta wait for the humidity to come up, and then I'll start. But if I have 3 of them running, it's a good day. So.
Okay.
Mhm.
And when you learned how, did you have a plan? Like when you went and did your like internships and went and learned, I know you went to Michigan and did a thing there too. Did you just kind of do what they were doing because that's what you were learning at the time? Or did you say, we're going to process alpaca, so we need to know how to do alpaca?
So we went in with the intention, when we went to Michigan, we trained with Deb at Stonehenge, who manufactured our equipment. And we asked her specifically, we know we want to do alpaca, we want to do wool, like what do we need to know?
Okay.
So we definitely came in with the intention to do stuff like that.
Okay.
That being said, we also then came back and realized all of our equipment was different than what they were running. Our Carter was the second one they ever built. And so they had definitely made tweaks on their own equipment versus what we had. So we had to tweak things on that. And yeah, every machine is its own. So.
Yeah, its own beast. I mean, I love Stonehenge at like hedge. It sounds like Stonehenge,
yes,
but it's not. It's Stonehenge. And they did beautiful yarns for many, many, many years. And I have a couple of designs with their yarn, and so I'm well aware of what they did. But they were not technologically savvy as far as like they didn't have a website at first, and you'd have to call in order and get the, and that wasn't that long ago that you just, they'd be like, no, call or email us, and then we'll make a thing for you. And so I did that for a number of years with beautiful yarn. Are they not producing anymore now? Did she retire?
As far as I know, they were done the end of last year.
Yeah, that's what that's what I thought.
As far as I
too.
know, I could be wrong.
Yeah,
but
no, I thought that too. I think I read something or got an email or something that they were going to be retiring and wrapping up that. Okay, so she has some product laying out here on the table that I have seen, but you guys have not, and it's beautiful. So we're going to show you some of the things that they make here, and so you can go out to their Etsy shop and find it, but you can also go to Shepherd's Harvest.
Yes, we will be there as well.
In May here, which is what we like to consider the tiny Rhinebeck of Minnesota. The Minnesota Sheep and Wool Festival. That's not what it is, but it is a sheep and wool festival in the Minneapolis area. It's in the northeast part of Minneapolis. There are 4 large barns, cement floored large barns. When I say barn, I always think big red wooden building, and they're really not. They're metal corrugated, metal, long, narrow buildings, but with food trucks and food and animals. And it's always Mother's Day weekend. So there are also always lots of mother makers there who have children. They have bunnies, they have sheep shearing, they have animal barns, which are more like wooden barns. So it is an amazing 2-day event, always Mother's Day weekend, Friday and Saturday and Sunday. They do have some classes that they have there. And then I don't know how many vendors are there, but all the barns are full.
Yes.
I mean, all the barns are full.
Yep.
But there will be people that will be selling spinning wheels, bags, baskets, and yarn, and fleece, and fiber, and rabbits, bunnies. You can buy a bunny. There's always a woman there that's spinning off of her
Straight
bunny,
off the bunny,
off
right?
the
Yep.
bunny, you know. So it's an amazing event to come to if you're interested in, or if you're in the Midwest at all. It is a really fun event, and there are 14 to 16 local yarn stores in the Twin Cities, so you can also hit those up as well, because they're all pretty much within an hour and 20 minutes of my home in Minneapolis. But this event is across the city from me, and you've guys been going since you pretty much opened, probably.
This will be our 4th year.
Yeah. So which is where I met them. But which one was the first one I think I ever saw in your booth, which is this one. It's just glorious. It's lilacs, and if you know what a lilac bush or tree looks like, you know that this is lilac in the spring, right? Like whenever I see this, I want to pick it up and see if it actually smells like. You guys need a little essential lilac oil to put on the label, just a little drop, so that when people go by, they go, I smell lilac, because that smell is so beautiful and distinct in the spring every year. But this is a 5 skein mini set. It's 70% alpaca, 20% wool, 10% mohair, and it is a what weight? Fingering? Yeah. So there are 50 yards per color, 250 yards total in this kit, and you do a lot of these mini skein packs, right? And so, can you get just the purple in a full skein, or no? You
Not
do minis?
Right now.
Okay, I haven't seen it, but people will ask in the comments down below, so I want to be sure that people see that. So that, I think, was one of the first ones I remember seeing.
Yes, that was the other one that I remember you picking up.
Because these are my colors. This is raspberry and orange. Come on, guys, that's what I love. And so this is the same thing, but with
slightly more
yardage, 450 yards, and this is called Dahlia. And this is your new one.
Yes,
Newer,
Yep.
Sagebrush and Sky. So just a beautiful pastel kind of palette. Just really lovely. Sagebrush and Sky. And then this is your Hayride. This is your fall, kind of your fall palette. Yeah, well, if you love that orange and gold. So here's this is really like sky, sunset, Hayride. Yeah, it totally makes sense.
Yes.
It's so pretty. These are just lovely. Like you could just go out and buy all of those, right? And just be so inspired.
Definitely my favorite product, and that's why we have so many of them.
Yeah.
Because I just keep going, ooh, this looks like a fun color set. Ooh, this will be fun.
And they're all that 70-20-10 blend,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And what do you guys call it? Because like normally merino, cashmere, nylon is an MCN.
Yes.
What would this be?
We just call it April, May, and Mo. So April, anything with April in our line is alpaca. Anything with May is wool. Anything with Mo is mohair.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant. I did not know that this whole time. And do you have sheep named April, May,
We
and
don't.
Mo? Oh,
No,
you need 3 sheep now.
Yes, we do.
And then tell your dad.
Yep.
Okay, so now we have full skeins of 50-50, and this is 200 yards, so be like a worsted, heavy worsted weight, in just a lovely, is it a 2-ply?
3-ply.
3-ply.
Yep. I'm a 3-ply person. I don't.
So this is April and May only. Oh my gosh. That's brilliant. Did you come up with that?
Yeah.
Because that's really clever. Like now that I know it, it makes so much sense.
Yep.
Like you could shop your booth more quickly
Yes.
as you know that. And look at that. Do you do a lot of tonal, two-tone stuff?
Yep, we have started.
Yeah, this is called deep water. So for you blue lovers, this is again the worsted.
So we last fall started our 100% wool line.
Oh, so you didn't have it before?
No. So this has been the first couple editions of that, and hopefully we will have stuff from the bales that we got from Belfouche.
Okay,
soon.
so if you're a Midwest viewer, which I have people from all over, but Rhinebeck is doing the Hudson River Valley Knit for Good. I think they're calling it Knit for Good, to use a local wool in your Rhinebeck sweater.
Oh, fun.
Because 20,000 people knit sweaters
Yes,
for Rhinebeck
absolutely.
every year. And they're like, come on, people, use local wool. And they're not just saying, it's the Hudson Valley Cooperative, because that's where they are. But they're not saying to use you can use their local wool, but they're saying use any local wool. Support these local mills, these local makers, and use their
so
wool.
cool.
So that would that's amazing for those people that are thinking about knitting a sweater over the summer and into the fall.
Yeah.
Even if you're not going to Rhinebeck, but to be a part of that. And you can sign the pledge. There's a pledge online, and you get a little sticker that says,
That's
I
so
think
fun.
it's called Knit for Good. I'll look it up for you before I go. But it's if you go to Instagram, it's the Hudson Valley Cooperative or something like that, that is doing this plan. And they launched it last fall at the event. And we're just asking people to just really try to use more of the wool product. Now, this is like, this is glorious. This is beautiful.
Is 48% alpaca, 40% wool, and then we use recycled sari silk for the color in there. So
April, May, and Sari.
Yeah.
Oh,
so yeah, that's another favorite.
That is really pretty, because can you guys see all the little flecks of colors in that? Oh, that is really, really pretty. And this one's called Whimsy. Is that the colorway?
Or no, is that's the sari silk.
Okay,
Yep.
got it. Okay. Yep. And I didn't look to
So-
see if any of these others are named something. Like you don't have like your worsted doesn't have a weird name.
No.
You're calling it worsted.
Yep.
Well, good for you. Do you know how hard it is for all of us out there to keep up with the names of the clever names
yes,
of
absolutely.
the bases?
Yes.
Like they're clever.
Yes.
But you never know, like, what that company is calling their worsted or
Yes.
their DK
Yep.
because they've come up with these really clever names, which is fun. But there are so many for the consumer,
Oh,
I
yes,
think, to
yes.
keep track of. So
Yep.
I approve.
Okay, perfect.
She asked me at all.
No, and
all,
for
but
us,
yeah.
it's an easy way. Like I know as a consumer,
Yes.
if I'm on a website, I'm like, I want a fingering weight.
Yes.
So
yes.
yeah.
It's just easier than trying to figure out what,
Yes.
what the clever sheep's name is that they named all that product out of. Look at this. Oh my gosh. That's beautiful.
So that's the Lavender Fields cowl. It's actually my own pattern. That's one of the things that when people try to shop with us, I don't like to follow patterns, so I make them up as I go, which is,
yeah.
people have feelings.
Yeah.
Good and bad. But this
So
one,
it is a written pattern
It
that
is a written
people can
pattern,
get, and it's
yes.
on Ravelry,
it
or
is
it's
not.
in Etsy. It's in your booth,
Yes, it's in our booth.
and you can get it when you
Yes.
buy the yarn
Yes.
as an additional
If
cost,
you,
or
nope,
if you buy
if you buy the set or a set
set
I
of
will
these.
100% give you the pattern. So
Oh, well, look at that. Now you all need one of these. And it could also be a hat fairly easily.
oh yeah,
You
yep.
could do the same repeat. Oh,
Yep.
it's really luscious. Just super and squishy. Okay, then we got some socks
Yes.
here.
So again, you can tell which are my favorite things to knit with.
Yeah, but look, you guys, you can see, I mean, that's beautiful in a booth when you can look at the yarn and say, this is exactly what I can go home and make with it, right?
Yes.
Like that is just, and that totally looks like spring flowers.
And that's
Oh,
the
yep.
Hayride one.
Yep.
Sis Love Half Circle on Ravelry. This is just one of my favorite things. Just a big shawl.
Is this crocheted?
Yes.
Wow.
So
That's really pretty. Really pretty. So you took one skein of this with the minis, probably.
So we have
kind of make.
yes, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
yeah.
Oh, that's lovely. It feels really good. It's really nice. I really like it.
I say this is I think the only other sample I have around. So one of the things that we also do.
Everything's so cute in miniature.
I know, right?
Right? Like, oh my gosh.
So one of our
Little crocheted sweater.
we have Millie yarn, which is our mill ends. So anytime we have a run that has a little extra left on the bobbin, we'll ply together and you get just a random mix of yarn. And so that's what that's made out of. And we will have some of that available. I'm hoarding it because people like it.
And I think some people would think that a little kid can't wear a wool. This is so lovely. Like a little kid
It's
could
just nice
totally
and
wear
warm,
right.
yeah,
Yeah. You could definitely put this on a kid. Like if I could wear this next to skin, a kid might not be able to. They might need a long sleeve t-shirt or something underneath. But oh my gosh, that's darling. Just darling. What shows are you gonna? What other shows are you going to be doing coming up here?
So we will have an open house if you are local.
Okay.
That's normally in June.
Okay.
We will also then we'll do the local sidewalk arts show in Sioux Falls.
Okay.
That one's super fun.
Is that September?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Yep.
So we do Shepherd's Harvest in May, then we take a break until the fall. That's just how it works with us.
Yep.
Everyone shears in May
Well,
and April. So it
well,
gets very
you can't
busy.
be at everything.
That too,
You're on the
yes.
road every week,
Yes.
every single weekend. Yeah. And
for
you have been at Prairie Road.
Yes.
You've been
Yep.
over at Prairie
Yep.
Road with a trunk show for
Yes.
her too. Does she have some of your product in
She
her
does.
store? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So if you're driving on I-90 across the city or 229, 29, going to the Rapid City, to the Black Hills, going, across America, you got to go through South Dakota. Because it's the best road. You don't want to go through Nebraska.
That's true.
It's
Or North
so
Dakota.
boring,
Just through South Dakota.
So boring.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, not that South Dakota is exciting, but when you get to the river, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot to see there.
Yep.
And Al's Oasis. Come on.
Yes, that's true.
I've actually talked about Al's Oasis, and I've had people go after
Okay.
because I talked about them. Like, we never would have known to stop there. And I'm like,
That's true.
yes, you need to stop at Al's. It looks out over the river. And now they have the big statue, the woman.
Yes.
It's
Super
so cool
Yep.
to look at and stuff. The big Native American woman who looks out over the river and big metal sculpture. If you're coming across and you need to stop right off the highway in Sioux Falls, Prairie Road would definitely have, and you would do a mill tour. Like if people contacted you ahead of time and they wanted to stop by and see the mill, I think that it would be something that you would show to people to get more interest. And if somebody had a group of women that wanted to come through and set up a time with you, because this is just, it's amazing. I love being in these spaces now. I was not a person that knew a lot until about 2 or 3 years ago, because I've never been a spinner. So even though I understand wool and its properties, now that I'm really getting into the farm yarns, I'm just all in. And a lot of people don't color dye the farm yarns, and I'm not a beige, obviously, right? I don't have a gray sweater I just can't do it, right? And so I'm really happy to see when people are dyeing some of that product, so that it just speaks to my color palette as well. So that's really fun as well. So I want to just thank you for your time today.
Thanks for coming.
Absolutely. We'll see you in 2 weeks.